Hades 2 is really good and you should play it right now!
The same predictable result, yet you persist.
Hades 1? That game was already a hell of a time, and nearly won Game of the Year in the year that it came out. So when Hades 2 was announced in the Game Awards of 2022, and I imagine a lot of other people, were wondering whether Supergiant Games was capable of living up to what they accomplished with the first game. I mean, Hades 1 was, and still is, one of the best roguelikes out there, giving the player both an addicting gameplay loop and a captivating story which was really not something common for the genre, both before and after the game's release. I could count with one hand the number of roguelikes that actually tell a story worth a damn, and 40% of that is just Hades and Hades 2! Hey, hi, I haven't done this in a minute, but I'm gonna kindly ask you to subscribe because I'm a greedy bitch!
Hades 2 is an expansion of everything that made the original as good as it is, while also adding a lot of stuff that makes it stand out on its own. The main core of the game is to ascend down to Tartarus and slay the Titan of Time, Kronos, who has been going on what I can only describe as the most average drunk granddad rampage. From there, the structure of the game is more or less the same as last time. A bunch of the gods from Olympus will give you a bunch of perks that will better your chances against a bunch of the enemies that will stand in your way. But now that I'm thinking about it, I should probably explain what a roguelike is to those of you not in the know. A roguelike is essentially a type of game in which everything is completely randomized. The types of power that you receive, the types of enemy that you encounter, the layouts of the rooms, even the bosses themselves can be completely randomized in order to make the experience completely unique every single run. The thing is that if you die at any point of any of these runs, then you're gonna have to start all over again from the very beginning of the game. Runs are short, fast-paced, and often difficult in an attempt to increase the replayability factor that many of these games strive for. And Hades 2 is simply a master at all of that. If you're gonna make a game that revolves around you doing runs over and over again, then you better hope that the gameplay that you have is very solid enough for me to want to play it again and again. And Hades 2 is a master when it comes to having good gameplay. The game controls excellently. The main character is agile, responsive, and a delight to control all around. But they still managed to differentiate this game from Hades 1 in... Hades? Fuck out of here! Anyways, as I was saying, they still managed to differentiate the game in many ways from Hades 1 through many different aspects. That's kind of redundant. See you later, alligator! What are we talking about? Now look over here. There's a lot of weapons that I use throughout my many different runs. I use the spear, I use the sword and the weird thingamajig, I use the dad, but if I have to say, I'll argue that my favorite weapon by far was the skull. Now as you can see here in this footage, the skull has a lot of close range combat. As you can see here, the skulls have a lot of utility in both close range and distance combat, making it very useful and my weapon of choice for most of my 20 hours playing the game. Regardless of the weapon that you use though, the combat in the game is absolutely excellent. It's fast paced, it's aggressive, you stop for 1 second and the enemies will slap you to bed and put you to sleep. The standard enemies can give you hell if you get careless. Even after 17 hours of playing, some enemies will still have me snorting bullets. But some bosses will just have me screaming bullets. Oh no! The bosses offer some of the best challenges in the game and are some of the most fun parts in the game overall. They perfectly encapsulate the floor that they're on and are honestly just a really nice thing overall. I can't get off of this thing, please help. Not a single one of these bosses I found to be badly designed. And as a matter of fact, a lot of them still manage to bring in variety from run to run, as some of their moves would change depending on, well, the run. All of these factors just go on to make the game more and more replayable. A single weapon alone could give you hundreds of different outcomes before you start seeing like the same thing over and over. But with the massive cast of weapons that you have to choose, it will take hundreds upon thousands of runs before the game ever gets boring. Some rewards can positively affect subsequent rewards. Some others combine with other upgrades in order to make new powers. And some upgrades just go as far as to change the way in which you control or like the way that you fight. There's a near endless potential of combos that you could possibly choose in a single run. For most of my adventure, I mainly leaned into the upgrades of Poseidon, recovering magic with bubbles after I hit someone, or pushing people away with giant waves made out of water, because what the hell else are they gonna be made for? The progression system of the game is really well made too, and possibly one of the best progression systems in any roguelike out there. While most other roguelikes would just reset all of your progress upon dying and just take it all away, Hades 1 and 2 do have some permanent upgrades for you to unlock. Hades 2 has a system in which you have a bunch of upgrades here that you can unlock, but you can only put as many into a run as that fucking green thing allows you to. So you won't be able to be immediately busted, and you have to strategize upon which upgrades you think will benefit you the most upon a run. These aren't the only examples of upgrades either, and they all go into making the player feel like, even if they haven't made it far into the actual floors and runs that they need to do, it still makes them feel like they're making some progress in one way or another. After every death, oh shit! The game can be very punishing. A lot of the enemies do son of a bitch. There are many hazards that do a lot of damage, and some bosses are just gonna kick your ass no matter what. The game is punishing. However, it is also very encouraging to the player, and you can see that perfectly through the characters themselves. Melanie perfectly represents the player itself, as she's constantly underselling herself after failing to complete a run. However, the other characters are constantly hyping her up, congratulating her efforts and how far she's gotten. The game essentially tells the player, yes, you go, congratulations, you got it, my glorious king, come on, woo! Yeah! But enough about the gameplay in a video game, because I want to talk about the music. Hades 2 music is, and I will possibly make the greatest effort to be as corny as I can right now. Hear me out on this. A hell of a time. There's not a single moment in which the music doesn't perfectly fit the game, with dynamic tunes that will have basically everyone yamming. You wanna know what my favorite piece of music is out of the entire game? It's every single boss theme that comes from the rock band of sirens that are constantly singing about how they want to drown their fans. It's heat!
Down, down, king of bones with a cold crown. Drown, drown, save your breath, 'cause tonight you're gonna drown.
The music in this game is damn near perfect. There's no other way to describe it. Or is there? Seasauce, Pseudo here. Now, I've been doing a lot of research in order to perfectly identify what type of music Hades 1 and Hades 2 will fall as. Now, after listening to the soundtrack of both games, you may be led to believe that the music of both games can be perfectly described as rock music. You will be wrong, because in my 10 seconds of research in my singular Google search, I found a term that perfectly describes the music better than anything else. Mediterranean prog rock Halloween music. Well, I just don't think that's a real word, but I don't care because it still goes hard! The game also looks incredible while we're at it. It looks unlike anything else AAA or indie alike, and it's just a feast for the eyes. Everything about Hades 2 is just what I would expect from a sequel to Hades 1. And mind you, what I mentioned in the video isn't even close to enough to everything that the game has to offer. Going down to throw hands with Granddad ain't everything that you can do in the game, because apart from going down, you can also go up to Mount Olympus with an entirely new set of levels that change the way in which you experience the game. And mind you, the base game already did that pretty well. The levels were already varied enough, but the surface just takes that to a higher level. Literally. My ass still hasn't even gotten past the Cyclops. There's content for days. Hades 2 is still in early access. The motherfucking thing doesn't even have an ending yet. And a lot of things could possibly change from now until the actual release of the game. But what you do need to know is that even despite all of that, Hades 2 is still a fantastic game that you should play. Well, that's all the time that I have for today. I'm just a random stranger you met on the internet. But hey, just call me Pseudo.